Dr. Mahananda Chali, sir. Good morning, everyone. It is my distinct honor to introduce our esteemed keynote speaker for today's session, Mr. Professor Dr. Mahananda Chali. Dr. Chali is distinguished academician, researcher, currently serving as Dean of Faculty Management, Tribhuvan University, Nepal. With more than 3 decades of experience in academia, he has significantly contributed to the field of strategic management, human resources management, and organizational behavior. Beyond his academic role, Dr. Chalise is an active member of Tribhuvan University Executive Council and has chaired the General Management Subject Committee since 2017. His leadership extends to various academic and research initiatives, including serving on editorial board of different journals of business and management. Dr. Chalise's scholarly contributions are noteworthy, with publication of journals, different topics, instrumental in shaping contemporary management. In addition to his academic career, has been various national and international conferences, insight on sustainable tourism, innovation, and economic development. Today, knowledge and perspective with us is to be worth enlightening and thought-provoking. Please join me in welcoming Professor Dr. Mahananda Chali on the stage. Thank you.
Hello, good morning. I need more energy because I have seen very young people. Good morning once again. Thank you very much. Thank you. Really, it's my great privilege to be part of this very powerful 4th National Conference organized by Khopa College, because I'm very much interested in this area, okay, sustainable development, since as I think most of you are very familiar with the, in my initiation, Faculty of Management has already started the this very powerful program, basically postgraduate diploma in sustainable development, particularly focused and customized to the environment, social, and governance, because I'm really happy. So I really appreciate and congratulate the Khopa College in designing or crafting the very interesting areas, and which are really a very pertinent and virgin area for the researcher also in the Nepalese context and in the Nepalese scenario. And therefore, I appreciate and I congratulate the Khopa College in designing this environmental, social, and governance innovations, because this ESG is a very multifaceted domains and dimension. Because if you see, even Nepal government has already adopted the policy of sustainable development goals. Out of 17 goals, if you see, more than 15 goals are highly connected with this ESG theme. Therefore, I really congratulate. So today my discussion and my, this issue of the today's discussion is the ESG and sustainable development, because some of the Nepalese experience. So if you see, the world is very much, confronting loss of the issue of the sustainable and sustainability, especially in the environment, social, and governance perspectives. If you see, even in the developed and developed countries or developing countries, they have highly experiencing the loss of the social problems. And even if you go to the corporate sectors, there are lots of the issue of the governance issues and the policy related issues, and the other, if you can see, like loss of the perspectives of the, the world needs to change as we are very familiar with the issue of the pollution, poverty, climate change, corruption, discrimination, human rights, food security. All these are the major issues that ESG fundamentally highlights, and therefore we must realize that the world needs to change. And as we know that the world is facing many real challenges, important and in some cases are very urgent. And therefore, Nepalese government, especially Nepal Rashtra Bank, has already declared the issue of this green taxonomy. I don't know how many of you know the issue of the green taxonomy as well as ESRM. Okay, environmental and social risk management. These are the fundamental domain and components of these ESG issues. So these are some of the statistics just I want to share here. Like, if you see the environment, social and governance is a very important framework for assessing the organization sustainability, even in the not of the only in the Nepalese society, even in the international society, if you see. And even Nepal can leverage this ESG to address economic, social, and environmental challenges, loss of. And while talking this sustainability, perhaps these 17 goals of the sustainability. So out of these 17 goals, this ESG is just, I already talked about, like more than 15 goals are highly connected with this environmental, social, and governance issues, and making the world a better place. And therefore, even United Nations and most of the countries of the world more advocating through the research perspectives or academic perspectives and the practice perspectives. They are advocating these issues of the sustainability, which is balancing the claims of the present against the claims of the futures. And so some of the theoretical or conceptual, because if you really, some of you are very interested, the research or some of the understanding of these ESG components, if you see, there are 3 domains of the ESG: social, supply chain to human capital development, and if you see the environmental, climate change to biodiversity, and the governance, corporate governance to the business ethics, which are really sense of the modern society to drive the equity and equitable society, okay, from the government policy to the practices of the corporate sector as well as the different sector of society. And we have some of the key ESG statistics. Then after this also we may realize the relevancy and the importance of these 3 importance domains like environmental, social, and governance. So increasing ESG investment globally, 35 trillion in ESG asset by 2025. Strong regulatory framework in Europe and the EU taxonomy, because European Union and other developed country has already declared loss of the mandatory regulatory mechanisms to design or to identify the ESG metrics by the corporate sectors. If you are not able to get the ESG certification, it's really difficult to achieve the foreign direct investment and other industry and business collaboration with the national and international perspectives. Therefore, most of the countries, even including India and other South Asian countries, they have already declared this framework and policies as a regulatory mechanism of to manage the government as well as the corporate sectors. If you see, these are some of the statistics. Around 83% of the consumer believe companies are responsible for shaping ESG best practices. And 4 out of 5 investors plan to increase ESG investment in the next 5 years. So meaning that every corporate sectors, every society should have to think for the environment, social, and governance if they want to create some sustainability in the organizations. And 85% of investors think ESG investment build resilience and unlock better financial return. And however, 75% of the companies believe they are not ready for regulation of ESG data and assurance. However, it's a lot challenging, even in like our country, like developing nations. We have lots of challenges. But so this is the regional status in India. If you see business responsibility and sustainability reporting, which is known as BRSR framework, was introduced in 2021 for the top 1,000 companies, becoming mandatory in fiscal year 2023. while BRSR, which is Business Responsibility and Sustainability Reporting, introduced 2023 applies to the top 150 companies from fiscal year 2024, meaning that India has already created some of the remarkable issues to think and to operationalize some of the regulatory mechanism of this ESG approach. Bangladesh has introduced in 2011 like a green banking regulations. If you see the Sri Lanka sustainability linked bonds, which is connected with the bonds, mutual funds, and other practices of the corporate sectors, this report of 2022 by World Bank. And Asian Development Bank has funded multiple ESG-driven projects in South Asian nations, including Nepal. So, if you see, perhaps very interesting, this ESG link with the Sustainable Development Goals, which just I talk in my presentation also. Like if you see, out of 17, the first domain is environmental. Those Sustainable Development Goals 6, 7, 12, 13, 14, and 15. These are the major construct and domain of the environmental, which relate to the sustainability and climate change action. And second, social perspective. Second domain is the social, and which connect with the people and community well-being. And starting Sustainable Development Goal 1 to 10, and governance part, third dimension of the ESG, which is the theme of our conference. Governance, ethical leadership, and compliance. These are the burning issues, even in the Nepalese, the lots of the political issues, policy corruption, governance parts, okay, and therefore, there should be the very much clear about this governance part, industry, innovation, and structure, people, justice, and strong institution, and partnership for the goals. Therefore, this out of 17 goals, these 15 goals are directly and indirectly connected with the ESG, and the meaning that, so my suggestion to the young researcher, these are the ample opportunities, okay, for the research area, maybe in the academic and practical advocacies. So if you see the Nepalese situation, the state of ESG in Nepal, the first regulation, Nepal Rashtra Bank, just I talk about the environmental social risk management guidelines as introduced in 2018 and updated in 2020, aims to enhance ESG in finance, but reinforcement is weak. Of course, we have a policy, the government has declared some regulations, but it's still the implementation and enforcement part is very weak, and therefore, as an academician, we need to go for the academic advocacy, and therefore, Faculty of Management has already started this postgraduate diploma program in these areas, okay? And green finance and green taxonomy. You see, Nepal is exploring the green bonds, but needs policy reform, okay? And therefore, so policy reform, because of course there are lots of the difficulties in the policy implementation of the loss of this green taxonomy frameworks, and the green finance and green taxonomy. Nepal should explore the green bonds, but needs policy reform. And even we are talking just how can we achieve these goals, but therefore, the regulatory mechanism should be actively enforced. Otherwise, we cannot aim for the net zero emission by 2045, if you see, and with major reduction by 2030. That is however, the government has taken the initiations, but let's see, and therefore, there should be the proper cooperations of the public-private partnership approach, and therefore, Triveni University has launched these programs. And the community forest, of course, we are very good in the community forest, even the best model in South Asia, like local community successfully manage forest, boosting biodiversity. And environmental innovation for flooding treatment, wetlands are cleaning. And these are the normal state of the ESG in Nepal. And if you see the sustainability key sector in Nepal, if you want to see some of the glimpse in the banking and financial sectors, the Nepal Stock Exchange has been promoting green financing and responsible investment initiative. Of course, there are lots of some practices, some theoretical discussions, some conceptual discussions are also happening in our situation also. Nepal Rashtra Bank ESG policy initiative, which is known as the introduced in October 2024 in the name of the Green Finance Taxonomy. So this is the part of the ESRM, or environmental social risk management. That could be great contributions if you really implement this regulatory framework in the society, in the corporate sectors, with the collaboration and cooperation of the public-private partnership. And if you see the energy sectors, the International Energy Agency has been assessing hydropower sustainability and its impact. Of course, in the very beginning, if you see in the Nepalese hydropower projects, and we have to go for like environmental, social, and other governance assessment. That is really a necessary investment in renewable energy project. And even manufacturing and industry sector also, Nepal Chamber of Commerce has been encouragingly eco-friendly product and practices, of course. Again, there is necessary for the academic advocacy and other research advocacy also. Labor right and ethical supply chain management, International ILO also in Nepal has taken some of the initiative, okay, in the area of labor right and ethical supply chain, especially particularly of the social and other governance issues. If you see in the situation of the tourism and hospitality, which we call for the sustainable tourism, eco-tourism, cultural tourisms, and the United Nations World Tourism Organization has been promoting sustainable tourism practices in Nepal, and could be the, Bhaktapur, this area could be one of the very pioneer area for the cultural tourism, sustainable tourisms, and then, so that could be also one of the very interesting research area. And these cultural heritage preservations, the United Nations Educational Science, this UNESCO has been involved in the cultural heritage preservation efforts in Nepal. And similarly, we have lots of the challenges to ESG adoption in Nepal. Of course, we are advocating, but we have lack of regulation, weak enforcement. However, we have ESRM approaches, and still our implementation part is weak, enforcement is weak, and there is some limited awareness, and therefore, because if you see even in the international practices also, and most of the knowledge partner is a university. Knowledge partner is a higher education provider institution, and they should play the critical roles to create some kind of the awareness through the research, through practice, or theories, or concept. And therefore, university has started, the program of the ESG from this year. And however, we have lots of funding gaps, we have lots of the data transparency issues, traditional business mindset also we need to change. The people, they resist to the changes. The people from the society and the corporate sector, even the policy makers, sometimes they resist to the changes. Still, we have to go for the loss of the advocacy on the, in creating the awareness on these particular issues. However, we have lots of uncertain policies. We have also infrastructure gaps. So these are the challenges to ESG adoption in Nepal. And we can create lots of the opportunities for ESG adoption, like a growing green finance, government initiatives. Of course, Rashtra Bank has started. So I think within this year or maybe the next year, this could be a mandatory, because without getting the ESG certification, it's very difficult to obtain the, some foreign direct investment and other initiation by the corporate sectors. So that should be the mandatory, like adopted by some of the international practices, especially United States or European unions and others. And we will have lots of the renewable energy potential, especially hydropower and solar energy investment can drive sustainable growth in Nepal. And global market access, yes, because they will see how your contribution in ESG, whether you are really certified in this area or not, and therefore Tribhuvan University is advocating to develop and to design the ESG leader through our academic programs. And this year we have taken the initiation to run the postgraduate diploma in the sustainable development, especially environment, social and governance issues. And yes, we talk about more about the sustainable tourism, ecotourism and cultural heritage, technology and innovation, rising stakeholder demand. So higher education and sustainable development, of course, this is connected with the standard SDG goal 4 and quality education. Of course, this is one of the very powerful, higher education provider institution, this COPA college, and should have to be very much confined with these issues also, how we create the sustainable, higher education based on our curricula. Cultural changes is a key mindset of transformation. Even if you see like higher education can be the catalyst for every nation, okay, to create awareness, to design some of the research issues, and to build the knowledge, because we are the higher education institution, are the knowledge partner, and to bring some of the changes in the society for the sustainable related issues, not only the Nepalese, if you see even in the international practices also. And therefore, Tribhuvan University of FM has started this academic program, ESG related. And we have some of the empirical evidences in the Nepalese context. One, Professor Adhikari has done one research, especially focused to the University Grant Commission lead higher education reform, because lots of the University Grant Commission also has taken some of the initiation, for the sustainable development of, higher educations through this approach. And so way forward for ESG adoption in Nepal, of course, we need to develop comprehensive ESG regulations. And then, so we have to strengthen enforcement also for implementation and monitoring these issues. And we have to connect higher education institutions with sustainability through curriculum, academic programs with the training capacity building program for business and investors. And then why not higher education institution play the crucial role for the development of the, practitioner and other corporate sector people through the crash course and other training and learning programs, regarding these issues. And expand green finance, introduce incentive for ESG aligned project and sustainable investment. So yes, sustainable reporting also is very important, which is connected with the knowledge base. Since we have been experiencing the knowledge-based society is more than data, and so there should be improved data and transparency. Standardized ESG reporting framework is one of the major indicators of the sustainability of your, your organization and your company. And we need to encourage public-private partnerships and foster collaborations, as well as, because we must be very much clear about the circular economy. One of the very important segment of the economic structure, that is a circular economy, which is very connected with the sustainability, production and waste management practices. So these are the things, and therefore my concern is that, so now we are in the very infant stage in the Nepalese society, especially with this environmental, social and governance part. However, the first part, we need to go for the academic advocacy, and we need to create some kind of the awareness, like you young researchers, to involve through your knowledge building process, through research and other activities. And therefore, one of the leading university of Nepalese higher education, Tribhuvan Universities, Faculty of Management has taken the initiations, to promote, to create awareness about this particularly ESG programs. And even within coming this year, we are also making plan to make the high level body of this ESG certification body, because I have already talked with the Rashtra Bank authority, government authority, as well as the Ministry of Finance authority, to create one very powerful body to certify through universities to design the ESG leaders. So this is the, even if you see the international practices. So hope we can do better in this area, because these are the essence of the modern society. Because if you do not think for the environment, social issues, because lots of the social problems have increased day by day. So how to understand, how to mitigate this social problem is also one of the major challenges for we people. And governance part, because we talk lots of the corporate sectors, we talk about the policy corruption, we talk about the loss of the corruption index and other issues, and therefore this governance is also very fundamental things. And so we have to create the long journey with the culture of this ESG. So with this, thank you, Khopa College, giving me this opportunity to learn something from you young peoples, because I have seen lots of the young researchers are here. Thank you very much, all the best, thank you. If you have any suggestion to me, so I really appreciate and welcome your suggestion. So that could be a better contribution, since, so I emphasize and focus so many times that अहिले यो फ्याकल्टी अफ म्यानेजमेन्टले यही प्रोग्राम चाहिँ हामीले सुरु गरेका छौँ. अफ कोर्स वी आर गेटिङ भेरी गुड एटेन्सन फ्रम द कर्पोरेट सेक्टर, सोसाइटी एन्ड अदर प्र्याक्टिसनर, होइन. किनभने इभन पहिला लाखौँ रुपियाँ तपाईँहरूलाई थोरै भनौँ यसमा ट्रेनिङ गर्नको लागि नेपालको केही सेक्टरहरूले विदेशबाट मान्छे लिएर आएर त्यसमा लाखौँ रुपियाँ तिरेर यसको तालिमहरू गराउने ठाउँमा आज हामीले यसको एकाडेमिक प्रोग्राम नै सुरु गरेका छौँ. आफ्टर some 2-3 years, I'm thinking, to connect this ESG postgraduate program in the master in sustainable development, especially ESG of the 1-year programs, which is the upper vertical programs. कहिलेकाहीँ के हो हामी कहाँ पोस्ट ग्रेजुएट भन्ने बित्तिकै यो कुन एकाडेमिक डिग्री हो भन्ने पनि हुँदो रहेछ म्याम, होइन? नाइदर मास्टर डिग्री नर ब्याचलर डिग्री. अफकोर्स आफ्टर कम्प्लिटिङ 2 years of your work experience, स्पेसल्ली द यो चाहिँ हामी प्र्याक्टिसनरहरूलाई अथवा प्रोफेसनलहरूलाई फोकस गरेको प्रोग्राम हो अहिले. सो नेपालमा पनि अब एउटा यस्तो दिन आउँछ कि इभन खोपा कलेजमा पनि एउटा सर्टिफिकेसन चाहिँ ESG सर्टिफिकेसन भनेर जस्तो क्युएको जस्तै राख्ने जस्तै यो अब प्रत्येक ठाउँहरूमा सुरु हुन्छ. किनभने त्यो बाहिर तपाईँ युरोपतिर जानुभयो भने द्याट इज म्यान्डेटरी. त्यसको म्याट्रिक्स निकाल्छ उसले, त्यसको ESG अडिटरहरू हुन्छ, होइन? क्युएको चाहिँ अडिटरहरू भए जस्तै ESG को अडिटर हुन्छ, उसले म्याट्रिक्स निकाल्छ तपाईँले इन्भाइरोमेन्टमा कति कन्ट्रिब्युट गरेको छ यो कलेजले, सोसाइटीमा कति कन्ट्रिब्युट गरेको छ, र यसको गभर्नेन्समा कति छ, त्यसको इन्डिसेसहरू, त्यसको थ्रेसहोल्ड भ्यालु छ. यस, अफकोर्स वी भिजिटेड इन द बार्सिलोना बिजनेस स्कुल द लास्ट इयर, एन्ड देन वी लर्न अलमोस्ट 1 week about, because I see here Dr. Gangaram Vishwakarma, we together and with the leadership of our previous dean, we visited there and we learned something different about this ESG, how to calculate this ESG matrix, and we are trying to impart these things in the Nepalese society. So I expect your help and collaborations to promote these programs. I really congratulate and thank you in designing the theme of this, particularly environmental, social and governance. किनभने हामीहरूको पनि काम गरिदिनु भयो, यहाँहरूलाई विशेष धन्यवाद छ. धन्यवाद. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Professor. Professor Dr. Mahananda Chalise, for your nice, short, sweet, beautiful, and motivating talk for our young researchers, motivating our young researchers. Within the short period of time, just you have motivated, described, and thus given some instruction to our young researchers. So we have only limited time, so I would like to request only 2 questions from the audience. So please, the floor is open. If you have some queries, then you may ask Professor Dr. Mahananda Chalise. Please, the floor is open.
नमस्ते, म यो खोपा कलेजकै म्यानेजमेन्ट फ्याकल्टी हो, रामकृष्ण प्रजापति. अहिले रिसेन्ट त्यो 1-2 दिन अगाडिको पनि हाम्रो पत्रिकामा के न्युज आयो भने 49% चाहिँ यो हाम्रो मनी लन्डरिङको पैसा चाहिँ बैंकमा आछ भनेर आइरहेछ. हामी ESG प्र्याक्टिसको कुरा गरेका छौँ, होइन, गुड गभर्नेन्सको कुरा गर्छौँ, अनि फेरि अब यो फाइनेन्सियल, होइन, एकाउन्टेबिलिटीको कुरा गर्छौँ. त्यति मात्र होइन, अझ हाम्रो कतिपय एक्टिभिटीहरू पोलिसी लेभलबाट गर्ने र प्र्याक्टिस लेभलमा गर्ने भने चाहिँ त्यो पिसमेल एप्रोच जस्तै एकदमै इन्कन्सिस्टेन्सी देखिन्छ. जस्तै अब एजुकेसनल इन्स्टिट्युसन्सको सस्टेनेबिलिटी हेर्ने भने चाहिँ अब हामी कतिपय एभरेज स्टडिजको लागि जान्छ, त्यसमा चाहिँ अझ नेपालमा कति कलेज सस्टेन गर्नको लागि कति स्टुडेन्ट्स यहाँ चाहिन्छ, कति हामी यहाँ रिटेन गर्नुपर्छ, त्यस्तो कुनै पोलिसी नै नराखेको यसरी पठाइराख्दाखेरि हामीले जति पनि अब ESG मोडल हुन्छ यताउता हुन्छौँ, प्र्याक्टिस र यो स्ट्राटेजिक एप्रोचमा चाहिँ एकदमै ग्याप देख्यो. अब यसलाई चाहिँ हामीले यसरी अब सकेसम्म यो क्लोजर टु प्र्याक्टिस पोलिसी लग्नको लागि के कस्तो प्र्याक्टिसहरू तपाईँको प्लेटफर्मबाट सजेस्ट गर्नुभएको छ?
थ्याङ्क यू सर. यसमा 2टा कुरा, त्यस कारणले नै अहिले हामीले सुरु गर्दैछौँ कि ESG को रियल प्र्याक्टिसेसहरू कसरी गर्ने. त्यो प्र्याक्टिसेस गर्नको लागि पनि केही त्यसका थ्योरिजहरू होलान्, कन्सेप्टहरू होलान्, बुझ्न जरुरी छ. त्यसैले पहिलो काम चाहिँ के भने नेपालको उच्च शिक्षामै अब यसलाई एज अ एउटा पार्ट अफ करिकुलम भनेर हामीले सुरु गर्दैछौँ. अब जहाँसम्म अहिले तपाईँले त्यो मनी लन्ड्रिङको कुरा गर्नुभयो, त्यो कुराहरूमा पनि थुप्रो इस्युहरू हुन सक्छन्, होइन? त्यो त अब त्यही कुरा गभर्नेन्सको कुरा, पोलिसी करप्सनको कुराहरू, होइन? ती कुराहरूलाई अब हामीले अलिकति कम्प्लेक्स हिसाबले सोच्न जरुरी छ. किनकि कतिपय अवस्थामा मान्छेको एटिट्युड, माइन्डसेट, कल्चर भन्छौँ नि हामीले, त्यो थाहा हुँदा हुँदै पनि ऊ पोजिसनमा जान्छ अनि उसले त्यही कामहरू गर्न थाल्छ, होइन? त्यसलाई पनि हामीले अब अलिकति कुनै पार्टबाट चाहिँ एउटा म्यान्डेटरीको हिसाबले गर्न जरुरी छ, किनकि तपाईँको जब यो भइसकेपछि त्यसको इन्डिकेटरहरू हामी निकाल्छौँ, इन्डिसेसहरू हामी निकाल्छौँ। हामीले थुप्रै अब बिस्तारै कर्पोरेट सेक्टरहरू, पब्लिक सेक्टरहरू, प्राइभेट सेक्टरहरूलाई पनि यो अभियानमा गएपछि मलाई लाग्छ यसले धेरै कुराहरू मिटिगेट गर्न सक्छ। तर सबभन्दा ठुलो कुरा त अहिले मैले पनि भने कल्चर हो, माइन्डसेट हो होइन। माइन्डसेटमै परिवर्तन ल्याउनको लागि पनि तपाईँ हामी जस्तो यङ मान्छेहरू, अब त यो यङले नै लिड गर्ने हो नि। यो यङहरूलाई अब अहिलेबाट हामीले ट्रान्सफर्मेसन गर्न सक्यौँ भने होइन, भोलि त तपाईँ हामी मध्ये नै हो नि कुनै पनि पोजिसनमा जाने त। तर तपाईँ हामीमा नि यो चेन्ज आउनु जरुरी छ है। अरू एउटा वान क्वेसन्स इफ यु वान्ट टु। लास्ट क्वेसन्स सर, नमस्कार है। छ कि यस प्लिज त्यहाँ दिनुहोस् त उहाँलाई माइक।
नमस्ते सर, साह्रै मिठो प्रेजेन्टेसन थियो इएससीमा हजुरको। थ्याङ्क यू फर द प्रेजेन्टेसन। म चाहिँ खोपा कलेजको एडजङ्क्ट फ्याकल्टी। अनि यो इएससी चाहिँ एक्चुली मेरो पनि इन्ट्रेस्ट एरियामा पर्छ एन्ड आई बिन कन्डक्टिङ रिसर्च। इनफ्याक्ट मैले सस्टेनेबिलिटीको क्लासेस पनि लिएको थिएँ कुनै फरेन बेस्ड युनिभर्सिटी अन्तर्गत। सो यो प्र्याक्टिसेसको दौरानमा, टिचिङको दौरानमा आइडेन्टिफाई गर्यो भने सस्टेनेबल एट सच कन्सेप्ट जुन चाहिँ अहिले नेपालमा भर्खरै तर इन्टरनेसनल प्र्याक्टिसेसमा टेस्टेड एन्ड रिसर्च हेज सोन द्याट सस्टेनेबिलिटीको कन्सेप्ट इज सस्टेनेबल है। उहाँहरूले नै रिसर्च गरेर निकाल्नु। दे हेभ बिन इन्ट्रोड्युसिङ द न्यू मोडल्स, रिजेनेरेटिभ प्र्याक्टिसेस भनेर। Not only need to sustain but regenerate, because we have already destroyed the planet. I know the 3 P's ko concept: planet, people and profit ko concept jun sustainability. So it's not more sustainable भन्ने concept आइरहेको बेलामा। So अलिकति एक स्टेप अगाडि गएर सोच्न सकिन्छ कि हैन, जुन रिजेनेरेटिभ मोडल भनेर बिग्रिसकेको चिजलाई कसरी बनाउनु त अब हैन। अलरेडी सस्टेन फ्युचर जेनेरेसनलाई हामीले सस्टेनेबल भन्दाखेरि पनि वाइ नट गो फर द रिजेनेरेटिभ प्र्याक्टिस जुन चाहिँ अहिले वर्ल्डको बिग डेभलप नेसनमा सुरु भइसक्यो जस्तो लाग्छ हैन। सो यो कन्सेप्टहरू चाहिँ अलिकति गर्नुपर्छ कि जस्तो लाग्छ है। सस्टेनेबिलिटी, गो फर द रिजेनेरेटिभ हैन। सो द्याट्स अल।
थ्याङ्क यू, भेरी गुड अन्डरस्ट्यान्डिङ। अफकोर्स हामीहरूले त्यस कारणले नै अहिले त्रिभुवन विश्वविद्यालयले, किनभने सस्टेनेबिलिटीको कोर्सलाई, सस्टेनेबिलिटीको इस्युजलाई अथवा स्पेसल्ली सस्टेनेबिलिटीभित्र पनि आउट अफ 17 गोल्समध्ये इएसजीले मोर देन 15 गोल्सलाई इन्कर्पोरेट गरेकोलाई एउटा करिकुलम थ्रु नै, किनभने त्यो निश्चित रूपले त्यसको एडभोकेसी पहिला हुन जरुरी छ। अनि बल्ल हामी के भन्छौँ भने रिसर्चमा पनि कन्सेप्ट, थ्योरिज, प्र्याक्टिस र रिसर्च भन्छौँ कि। अनि जहाँसम्म हामीले एकाडेमिक एडभोकेसी हुँदैन अनि त्यसको प्र्याक्टिस कसरी गर्ने, त्यसको रिसर्च कसरी गर्ने भन्ने कुराहरूको कुरै आउँदैन। त्यस कारणले तपाईँले भने जस्तै त्यो रिजेनेरेट भइसकेपछि पनि रिजेनेरेट कुरालाई पनि सर्टेन सस्टेनेबिलिटीमा त फेरि लानै पर्यो होइन। त्यस कारणले पनि त्यसलाई प्यारलली हामी जान पर्ने जरुरी छ। त्यस कारणले अहिले हामीले एउटा इनिसिएसन चाहिँ यसको अवेरनेस क्रिएट गर्ने कुरामा, गभर्नेन्सका कुराहरू अहिले जहाँ पनि सुनिन्छ नि गभर्नेन्समा प्रब्लम भन्छौँ, प्रब्लम भन्ने मान्छे भोलि त्यही पोजिसनमा पुग्छ अनि उसकै प्रब्लमहरू भएको हामी देखिन्छ। सोसियल प्रब्लम्सहरू थुप्रो आएको छ, इन्भाइरोमेन्टल इस्युजहरू थुप्रो छ। त्यसलाई अब अहिलेको यो यङ जेनेरेसन थ्रु यसलाई कसरी मेन्टेन गर्दै जाने, यसलाई कसरी अझ बढी बेटरमेन्टतिर जाने भन्ने हिसाबले पनि त्यो एउटा करिकुलमको रोल, विश्वविद्यालयको रोल, युनिभर्सिटी भनेको नलेज पार्टनरको रोल, नलेज बिल्डिङ गर्ने भनेको सोसाइटीमा एकाडेमिसियनले नै हो। हामी कहाँ हामीले अलि बुझाउन सकेका छैनौँ। हामी कहाँ अहिले एकाडेमिसियन, ब्युरोक्र्याट्स र प्र्याक्टिसनर बिचको बिग ग्याप छ। संसारको इभिडेन्सेसहरू हेर्नुभयो भने त्यो नलेज बिल्डिङ कसले गर्छ भन्दा युनिभर्सिटीले गर्छ। त्यो युनिभर्सिटीले बिल्ड गरेको नलेज चाहिँ, मिलेर गरेको नलेजलाई अनि सोसाइटीमा उसमा चाहिँ प्र्याक्टिस गर्दै अनि त्यसलाई फेरि टेस्ट रिटेस्ट रिसर्चका कुराहरू थुप्रो कुराहरू आउँछ तर यो सुरुवात भएको छ एउटा कुरा के छ भने सस्टेनेबिलिटी अथवा स्पेसल्ली इएसजीको सर्टिफिकेसनका कुरा इएसजी इन्डिसेसका कुराहरू इएसजीले इन्कर्पोरेट गर्ने 15 सस्टेनेबल गोल्सको चाहिँ नेपालमा अब सुरुवात भएको छ तपाईँ हामी जस्तै यङबाट नै अब हामीले एक्सपेक्ट गर्ने हो यङ ग्रेजुएट्सहरू हामी उत्पादन गर्दैछौँ यङ इएसजी लिडरहरू हामी उत्पादन गर्दैछौँ भोलि यही लिडरहरू चाहिँ कर्पोरेट सेक्टरहरूमा टप पोजिसनमा पुग्ने हो पोलिसी मेकिङमा टप पोजिसनमा पुग्ने हो लिडर पोलिटिकल लिडरमा तपाईँ हामी नै पुग्ने हो अहिलेबाट नै हामीले अहिले भन्यो नि त्यो यो माइन्डसेटमा चाहिँ यो ट्रान्सफर्मेसन इज नेसेसरी फर्स्ट एन्ड देन वी निड टु इम्प्लिमेन्ट अनि त्यसपछि सस्टेनेबल रिजेनेरेसन त्यो कुराहरू चाहिँ पर्टिकुलरली आइरहेको हुन्छ थ्याङ्क यू फर युर अन्डरस्ट्यान्डिङ थ्याङ्क यू भेरी मच थ्याङ्क यू भेरी मच वान्स अगेन थ्याङ्क यू
Thank you, Professor Mahananda Chalise, and thank you, participants, for your good questions. So we have a very short time, and we have tried to start our panel discussion in time. So we have already our panelists over here. So I would like to request Mr. Sundar Jestha, faculty of Khopo College, to start the panel session, please. Before that, I would like to request I would like to request our respected principal, Prakash Kumar Jestha sir, to provide a token of love to our respected professor, Dr. Mahananda Chalise. Please. Sorry, sir. Thank you very much. Thank you, sir. Thank you very much, Prakash sir. So we would like to start our next session and a very interesting subject of this session. So I would like to request our faculty member, Sundar Jestha. I would like to hand over this mic and thus I will request him to start this panel session. Please. In this panel session, we have three eminent personalities. Professor Dr. Regina Maske, Department of Environment Science, Tribhuvan University, and panelist Dr. Bimarjan Acharya is constitutionalist and advocate. Then another is Gangaram Biswakarma, Dean of Faculty of Management and Law, Bagmati University. So without delay, we are going to start. So it is actually about 10:10. We have declared that we are going to start our program right at 10:10. So please, Sundar sir.
Hello, hello, check. Hello, 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 check. Hello.
Namaste and good morning, everyone. Before we begin today's panel discussion, let us take a moment to reflect on the context in which we gather. Nepal stands at a critical crossroads. We are facing escalating environmental degradation from melting glacier in the Himalayas to worsening air quality in our cities. Our legal and institutional frameworks, though evolving, struggle to enforce equity, inclusivity, and long-term vision. And our governance structures across public and private sectors frequently operate in silos, missing the opportunity for deeper synergy. The consequences are visible: unmanaged urbanization, environmental injustices, weakened public trust, and a widening gap between policy and implementation. The question then is not when we need to redefine governance, but how. How do we align environmental priorities, legal frameworks, and managerial innovation to build a future that is not only sustainable, but just, inclusive, and resilient? This is the question at the heart of today's discussion: redefining governance, combining environmental, legal, and managerial synergies for a sustainable future. It is my pleasure and honor to welcome you all to this pivotal panel discussion under the theme Redefining Governance, Combining Environmental, Legal, and Managerial Synergies for a Sustainable Future. This theme could not be more timely as we grapple with increasingly complex global and local challenges, from climate change to legal reform, institutional accountability to inclusive development. It is evident that isolated efforts will no longer suffice. We need synergistic governance, a congregance of scientific insight, legal frameworks, and strategic leadership. To illuminate this intersection, we are fortunate to be joined by three distinguished experts. Professor Dr. Regina Maske, a leading voice in environmental science who brings a vital ecological perspective to governance. Let's welcome her with big hand as our distinguished panelist. Similarly, Dr. Bhimarjun Acharya, an expert in constitutional law, widely recognized for his contribution to legal reform and democratic integrity. And last but not the least, Dr. Gangaram Vishwakarma, Dean of the Faculty of Management and Law, Bagmati University, whose work centers on the integration of ethical leadership and institutional innovation. With such a diverse and expert panel, I am confident that today's discussion will not only raise important questions, but also offer pathways forward. Now, let us begin. First of all, I would like to put my first question to Dr. Bhimarjun Acharya. Dr. Acharya, from a constitutional law perspective, how well equipped is Nepal's constitution, Nepal's current legal framework to support integrated environmental and governance reforms?
Thank you very much for having me in this session this morning. We have a very long history of constitution and law in Nepal. We started to write constitution in 1948, and that was the very first written constitution in the history of constitutional law in Nepal. Padma Samser, he was the prime minister, and he was the first prime minister in Nepal who thought about writing the constitution, and he managed anyway to give to Nepali people written constitution, and accordingly he promulgated the constitution, the first constitution of Nepal in 1948. And the very good thing for Nepali people is that that constitution was promulgated before the pronouncement of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, which was adopted by United Nations on December 10, 1948. So a few things with regard to the governance was envisioned in 1948 Constitution, but not the concept that we come to understand about governance and etc. was not envisioned in that 1948 Constitution. But few of the rights of the people were there, and similarly the concept of parliament was envisioned in that Constitution, and few aspects of governance were there in 1948 Constitution. But that Constitution did not come into full enforcement due to the conflict among the Rana and other political situation of Nepal. And then we wrote the second Constitution in 1959. It was interim constitution. And the few safeguards and few conception and few things were there with regard to the governance in that 1951 Constitution. For example, today we have one esteemed institution in Nepal, and that is Public Service Commission. And that Public Service Commission was the concept of 1951 Constitution of Nepal. I feel proud to say that this was the vision of that Constitution. And then we came to the third Constitution, and that was the Constitution of the Kingdom of Nepal. And we promulgated this Constitution in 1959. Some values to democracy, plural society, the provision of federal franchise, election, electoral system, governance were put in that 1959 Constitution. And similarly, we introduced the form of parliamentary democracy first time by Constitution from 1959. And then we had 1961 Constitution, the Constitution of Nepal 2009. And in 1990, we have very liberal and democratic Constitution, the Constitution of the Kingdom of Nepal. Nepal Adhirajiको Samvidhan. It was promulgated in 1990. And the sixth one was interim Constitution of 2007, and presently, currently, we have the seventh Constitution, the Constitution of Nepal. So talking about governance part particularly, I'm connecting to that governance part only. The few, for example, bases have been made over there. For example, if you talk about the preamble of this Constitution, it envisioned about the concept of rule of law, plural society, inclusivity, and etc., etc. Similarly, some of the provision with regard to fundamental rights are also very much connecting with this part. And the directive principle of this state, I've talked about some concept of governance. So this way, few things have been envisioned by the Constitution in Nepal with regard to this title, and the many things have to be done in the days to come. Yeah.
In the scenario, as United Nations has set 17 goals for sustainable development, which largely focuses on climate and environmental issues, how can constitutional provisions be better leveraged or reinterpreted to ensure environmental protection becomes a legal priority in national development planning?
No, for me, talking about the governance, I think a couple of things are very much important. The prerequisite of governance would be to the fair exercise of power. We talk about rule of law and constitutionalism, and that says that the power must be exercised fairly. The power has to be achieved in accordance with the law, and the achieved power has to be exercised fairly. And this may be the first component of governance, and this is very in vision of our constitution and legal system here in Nepal. And the second, another important component of governance would be that the compliance of the rule of law. So we have a very critical position of rule of law, because the rule of law has been degenerated into the rule by law, and to some extent rule of person. The very current situation of Nepali politics and Nepali law, if you see, we do not have full-fledged rule of law on ground. This has been degenerated into rule by law and rule of person. So the very component of good governance is the compliance of the rule of law, and we talk of the substantive as well as procedural part of the rule of law. And thirdly, fiscal discipline is very much important. If you want to have governance, good governance in the country, without maintaining the fiscal discipline, we don't have good governance. So this is very important component of good governance. Constitution talks of all of these things, but on ground, in reality, we have not achieved so far all these things. So, and fourth very important component of this governance would be the fair judicial proceeding. Constitution has envisioned about the independent judiciary, and judiciary has been independent of the executive and other parts of the government in theory. But in practice, a lot of questions have been raised on judiciary with regard to its impartiality, with regards to its independence. So judicial independence is another important component of governance. And the fifth one, of course, would be the mechanism of oversight. For example, if you talk about the scenario of Nepal, we have parliament. There are a number of parliament committees in the house, and those committees were built in the house in order to do this business of oversight. But they are very much defunct. They are very much inactive in this current situation. Similarly, the Constitution has provided some 13 constitutional bodies, and the Commission for the Investigation of Abuse of Authority is one of them. And this CIAA is one strong constitutional body for designing to make this oversight mechanism, because it has been given the power of investigation into the cases of corruption and etc. So oversight mechanism is a very much essential part of this governance, and we have a certain legal safeguard, constitutional safeguard with regard to this. But if you see the practices of all these things, the situation is very much pity. And talking about one more challenges that we have today is that, for example, if you talk about redesigning of the governance, definitely one issue would be very much important, and that is the multi-stakeholder governance model. Unless you do have a multi-stakeholder governance models in your country, in your community, I think you can be able to realize all these goals of this concept. So I think these are few issues, that we are very much serious even in our legal field and in our community. And some of the safeguards, some of the parts are there in constitutional and legal arena, but it has to be realized in practice, and I think this is somewhat what I have to share with you.
I once again would like to have one more follow-up questions to Dr. Bimarjan Acharya. It is quite obvious that there are the gaps between policies and practices. Do you see gaps between environmental law and enforcement mechanisms? How can governance models bridge these legal implementation divides?
No, there are certainly a number of gaps, but my focus is on constitution only. That's why I cannot share you all those legal phenomena with regard to environment and government. But I say there are serious gaps in book and action, in theory and practice with regards to this part. And there must be the bridge in these gaps, I think this types of platform maybe one step, one initiative towards this goal. There are certain safeguards, certain grounds, but still there are a number of gaps in this regard.
Certainly, such kind of discussions and scholarly discussions would provide better pathways for tomorrow's future. And now I would like to have a question to Professor Dr. Regina Maske. Ma'am, in your view, what are the most critical environmental governance challenges Nepal is currently facing? And how can interdisciplinary governance help address them?
First of all, I want to thank Scopa College and this organizing committee for inviting me in this very important discussion. And before answering you, I am also thankful with Dr. Acharya and also with Dr. Mahananda for setting up the government's environment, social and the government's part for the mind. For the challenges, I just want to go back a little bit. We can see that Dr. Acharya present clearly that we have started kind of a government from the 1945, but later on I think we moved very slowly. If we come across with the environment, we think about the environment, we would say that only the environment, importance of environments in the world comes more later actually. It is only under 1972 Stockholm Conference that brings we all know whole world to in the one platform and a realization that we are in the very stressful environment and we have to preserve the environment for the sustainability, for the future of our all the mankind, not only the mankind. All environment means everything. So that is the first one. But even then, and after that, our big countries like USA and our European partners have begins already at that time for the environment and social governances. But however, if we come with our South Asia, it came little late, as also Dr. Acharya said. We are now in the sixth constitution. It clearly says, but it is in the democratic movement 1990, only around the 1990, South Asia started for the really realization of the, in a sense, which needed, I would say, for the environment, social and the governance part. And in the beginning, economic part is again separate. And later on, if you see in India, it started around 1983, the first law of the government, which we could say environment and the social government, and in the same way that followed by the Sri Lanka. But however, the rest like Bangladesh and the Nepal and the Pakistan, we begins little late. With after in Nepal, it is after 1990 movement, we first read about the Ministry of Population and Environment. And then we begins with the environmental laws EPR and EPA acts and the regulation only in 1996 and 1997. And so the things is that once still we do have those EPA and EPR we set at the time, still the people, or all of us, I would say, didn't realize the importance of the Ministry of Environment. Still yet, I would say. That is why sometimes the Environment Ministry or the Environment Division is being pulled out from one ball to another. The first, we kept it in the Ministry of Population and Environment. Later in 2005, we kept it into the Science and Technology. And then later on, we are now with the Ministry of Forest and Environment, you see. And I would say this is how the country perceived the importance of environment as well. And in that way, in the beginning, from the beginning, we are we think the environment in the lower way. That is how we move, I would say. Even though it is 1945, we started everything, according to Dr. Acharya, all. But later we move. And setting this, now we see that we are still in the political imbalance, still we see. We have this constitution, we have the now federalization system coming. And this is how it comes to challenges for the government. Environment, social, and governance comes in this federal system. We move with the federal system, and we have three bodies now, local bodies, federal, and the state government. And before, the whatever laws and policies set for the environment was governed by the state. And now it cannot reach to the local bodies. And that is the main challenge. What brings the challenges for the governments, environmental, social, all the three pillars becoming a challenge because of this imbalance, and maybe this is the main reason, so that we could not reach from the state policies and laws to the local level, because we still, this create the still not clear role and responsibilities among the local bodies, federal and the state, still unclear, because we now have a 7 state, and some of the previous ministries have the departments to rule those regulations and laws, but now it comes with the 2 states, and again the many local bodies, and that makes it's not clear for who should take care. That is the one. That is not clear role and responsibility is the challenge. Another is because of this unclearness, the whatever laws and policies we have, we are now, there is kind of a still late literacy in the importance of environment, social, and the governance part, and also the capacity at all the 3 levels, I would say. In the higher level, they used to have, but they cannot reach to the local. And it needs to be, therefore, it brings about the quick enforcement. And that is one of the, as the previous speakers already said, we should be the one of the good and the most needed one. And because of this, we have the quick enforcement. And another thing is that now the local government has our budget is in all the 3 layers. Now what happens, but not sufficient. Because as I said, there is no clear responsibilities, none, and that makes this budgetary now in the 3 section, and they don't know which should be the local one, to do first tag, to spend it, and which should be from the state. You see, it is so, what to say, the people doesn't know yet. And that makes the real problem in getting that. Some of the things need lots of money, no? And then the local government, even though want to do, it is insufficient for going alone, and they don't know how to contact with these 3 layers. And these are one of the governance problem currently in Nepal, and that should be addressed. That makes even though there are the money flowing, cannot be utilized for this environment, social, and governance parts in the right way with the right people, because the right people are still lacking in the lower level. The capacity are not strengthened. So it is still lacking. That is the one challenge we have. And another is different development practices carried out by our bodies, like mostly all these three things comes up with the development practices need your capacity and your understanding, and that is lacking. And that makes the coordination with these all three layers is vast difference still, and that makes a really, really bad situation for Nepal, I would say, for coming to the good governance and environmental and social governance, and joining with the economic hand for our prosperous and it comes with the clearing of all the problems which brings the climate change, which is the water pollution, always the air pollution, everything, waste management, these all brings about all these challenges. If we can endure these challenges, then it is easy. Thank you. This one? Okay. Okay.
As Madam Regina Maske has chaired the Department of Environmental Science at Tribhuvan University and served as director in University Grants Commission. And similarly, as we are here in the historic city of Bhaktapur, which is very rich in indigenous knowledge and practices, I would like to have another question to Professor Maske. What is the role of indigenous and local ecological knowledge in shaping national governance?
Thank you very much. I'm very happy that we are here in Bhaktapur, as you said, in the who have a very indigenous knowledge. And actually, this is one of the things which needed for this governance sector of the environment, social and governance, indigenous knowledges, because those knowledges know the better understanding of local adaptation, local mitigation adaptation, and also now we need the resilience. Only the mitigation and adaptation does not work. We need the resilience actually, and that also brings about it. For example, I can say that this is still that sometimes, for example, there is the very few persons who can build this traditional preservation, no? I just forgot the name, and he is from the Bhaktapur, and he is building all the infrastructuring after the earthquake. This person, maybe you can name it, I forgot, yeah. And those are the kind of things, if you see, this brings about the local utilization of our local knowledge to bringing from the local substances, I would say, no? And because the same bricks, same clay, and that is what we needed. And if we bring from the advanced knowledges into the local things, that may not be suitable for the things. Firstly, it will brings about it will increase the carbon footprint, certainly. Suppose, for example, if you want to bring about the concretes and the cements in the very far rural areas, then for the cements and the concretes, you need the industries. And that industries will have lots of carbon footprint. That means from the manufacturing, and that will bring about the emissions and the energy use, all kind of things, all the life cycles, no? Which brings about the emissions high. And that, if you want to bring to the rural area, if you count that, and that is a huge amount. And again, that costs a lot. And for the people, for example, and those brings that one. If you see, I want to give you the simple example. The concrete building, where if you want to stay, it will very hot in the hot season, very cold in the winter season. If you remember our past homes, I still remember my childhood homes, they used to bring about, no, in Kathmandu also, those buildings, we used to have a very cool in this hot seasons because of the use of the local, and that is the mud and this kind of thing. You don't need now the fans and now the ACs, which again utilize the energy, you see. Those kind of things. But if you use this Indian, which is really suitable to the local, you don't need to bring about those technologies there, you see. And that is very suitable. And this is very important. It is for the construction. I am telling, that is the same with the making the bridges, you see. Now we do have a very, in the past also there is the bridge making technologies. If you see in the high rural areas like Gandaki, Karnali, which are the bigger rivers, and people staying over there, you see those bridges were made from the local substances, and but still very effective, and they can use it, and you don't need to have the problems at all, I would say, regular maintenance. And it is the same with the agricultural part also. If you have the indigenous knowledge, now that for the sustainable development also, it is been coming up that you have to take the indigenous knowledges. If, for example, saving our own crops, no, in you genes and you crops, you save that and you utilize it. That is the one. In the same way, organic farming is coming up, and now the Western world is talking about the organic farmers. But if you see, we have been starting it from how many years back? In the very, very year back, we have been using that, no? And only thing we lack is that we didn't do the research and we didn't get the patent. And that is the one now the new generation should have do for the see their indigenous knowledge, do research and get the patent, so that they cannot say this is there, and we can say this is our knowledge. Even though we have these kind of, you see, organic farming, organic mull, we would say, no? Each houses used to have, farmers used to have their own fertilizers made by themselves, used to have in the past. But now that we are again restarting those from the books, from the foreign books, foreign man's literature, and we studying there, and we are saying that this is good. And that is the gap again, you see. That is why we need to, indigenous knowledge is very, very important. If the country like us, which have a very rich history of the indigenous knowledge and practices and the ethnic people, I would say this is the one of the best consideration we should consider if we have to have a good environmental, social and governance.
Thank you, Professor Dr. Regina Maske. And now I would like to have a question to Dr. Gangaram Biswakarma. Dr. Ganga, from a managerial and leadership perspective, what systemic changes are needed in our public sector to effectively integrate environmental and legal priorities into decision making?
Before I'm going to your question, first of all, we need to realize that why we have kept the session snap as a redefining. When there is a need of redefining, when you are not able to define something in a present sense. So that is the point where we need to start that, is this the mechanism that we have created is really workable or not? Somewhere we are forgetting that. We have created the objective, but I don't think that we have shared it to everybody. And that is the point where we are missing the link. When you have another objective, and I do have another objective, whatever system, whatever constitution, or whatever you are saying in this platform will never work. We are working in silos. Silos, that means we are lacking coordination, we are lacking communication, and even collaboration. Yes, we know this is the world of competition and competitiveness. The environment that we are talking about, is it because of me? Is it because of Nepal? We are talking about environment, and it is because of me. It is because of the big, so-called big world countries. And when we are talking about ESG, when we are talking about governance, when we are talking about environment, right? Somewhere we are led by somebody. And with this platform where the things are recorded, I don't want to speak out which countries are these, which philosophy are guiding all these things, right? So in this sense, we need to create a synergy in between what objective we have shared, and when we are sharing the objective, the expertise will be shared. It will not be in a silo or in a tight compartment that you are thinking of yourself. Another thing is action. Action, that is also should be shared. And I would like to emphasize the word shared here, because we are now talking about shared economy, we are talking about shared resources, we are talking about shared system, and this moment, it starts with the goal and the objective that you have been shared, right? So in this sense, when we talk about these three areas, Sir talks about the legal compliances and all this. See, when we talk about legal compliances, or you do have certain rules and regulations, it is really the harder part of the essence. We need to take the consideration of softer part too. Softer parts come from your attitude, from your behavioral aspects, which comes from your awareness in regards of. Madam was talking about traditional ways that we used to live. But nowadays when we talk about this, how much commercialization we do have, how much commodification we have made. It is not the question of how we are thinking about public sector, where the governance and all these kind of issues are there. We are talking about organizational change. Because when we talk about redefining, that means we are talking about change. And when we are talking about change, there are resistance that will come, because we do not have the same mindset. Forget about the system that we are running. But are we aligned to one point, globally, regionally, and even when you go and discussing these things in your your area, you will find a different mindset of people. So coming directly to your question where you are talking about Nepal public sector, it is not only Nepal public sector, but it is also we are talking about the private sector, which you do not need to forget that how much contribution this system is giving to us. We know that the public sector is controlling, coordinating with this private sector too. But when you talk about institutions do have their own mechanism to work. Coordination mechanism, controlling mechanism, communication mechanism. I don't want to get with certain examples, but you already know in the house that how much we are coordinated with the different level of government that we are talking about. You know, I'm also working with certain budgetary implications in province. There you will see the same element kolagi, there are funding going on, and the same funding going on for one work, and you, when you are going to implement that thing, then you will, oh, your budget to tyaबाट पनि आएको रहेछ, यहाँबाट पनि आएको रहेछ. So when you are talking about directly in the public sector, the main thing is whether you have shared your objective, that where you are leading, where is your strategic actions that is leading to the shared benefit, somewhere we are forgetting. So that's why I think the redefining concept is, because we have already defined, it is not like that we do not have resources in our country. But what is the leaking is we do not have the better system, right? Improvement is needed. I'm not saying that the system is not there, but system works only when we are coordinating with each other. So the sense is institutional realignment. I will emphasize on the word realignment, not redefining the things, because we have already defined. But alignment of our objective and shared goals are there. And other thing, when Sir also talks about, Madam also talks about policy gap. But when I say in the sense of public sector, legal compliances, I already said that it is the harder part of the thing, right? But where is the softer part? The rules and regulations, how many of we have studied our constitution? Article 16 to 46, 47 and 48 talks about something of us, which we forget as a citizen of Nepal. There it starts with, because I think in the public system also, there are people who are the citizen of Nepal. Why they are forgetting their duties? Why they are first जब मैले कन्स्टिट्युसन उ गर्छु कतिवटा मेरो राइट्स चार्टर्ड छ आई गो विथ द आर्टिकल नम्बर 46 from 16 to 46. But when you say for article number 47 and when you say article number 48, they are also, we talk about duties, but constitution also, I don't think this is failed, but maybe it is not chartered that what is my citizenship duty for my country. It is written very, very broader sense. Right? So in this sense, the sectoral specific ESC guidelines we need. अहिले भर्खरै राष्ट्र ब्याङ्कले जुन चाहिँ रिस्क म्यानेजमेन्ट र इन्भाइरोमेन्टल सोशल जुन को बनायो द्याट वाज स्टार्टेड इन 2018 2022 and it comes in act in 2024 like this. But is it only that we need to regulate the sector which is related to financial institute? What about other sectors? अर्को कुरा, we are talking about government sector. Is there any rules and regulations that connecting to this public sector enterprises or public sector essence? So organizational change, yes, needed, institutional reframing, and comprehensive essence of a stronger internal compliance system should be there. And it is there, but it is not working. So I would emphasize here in the sense of coordination, collaboration, as well as communication. And you know, when we talk about this public sector and the mechanism, Mantralaya and all these things, and this 3 level of government, somewhere coordination and communication things are lacking. I'm not saying it is missing, but it is lacking. Because I would again emphasize that we are not sharing up objective with each other. Right? So this is the essence when we talk about this. And the other thing is, because I belong to behavioral science and human resource development. So to human resource development को पनि sense कहीं छ, because when you talk about skill, your ability, right, it should be supported with your attitude, and attitude and motivation is related to it. So what is the sense we are going to talk about this redefining, realigning our system to establish an enforcing governance system where we talk about the foundation of ESC2. Thank you.
Dr. Bangara, as you are the Dean of Faculty of Management and Law in Bagmati University, and as you are involved in lots of the budgetary management in several governments, municipalities or provincial governments, and can you please share some of the examples of governance innovations, perhaps from the private sector, that can be adopted in public administration to improve environmental and legal synergies?
Yeah. Public sector or the government system will definitely give you an institutional framework with it. And there are a lot of policies and acts that are there, and how these private institutes are also moving forward. See, private institutes are basically, they will be focused to profit, and you cannot say no. Why I need to go to business? Because I need a profit, but in what cost, right? So this is a very challenging path that we are taking, and to take within that. So economic part as well as the impact that we are creating. Every private organizations now need to think about what social impact we are creating. Here we are discussing about environmental impact, but within that sense, right, we need to talk about the social impact that we are creating. So from the market, okay, nowadays, yes, we in the private sector also, for example, I give consultancy and my research fellows are there. Now these organizations are data driven in terms of their decision making, okay. As much as possible, they are integrating with the country's rules and regulation and how they can be, okay, establishing the governance mechanism within. The other thing is every organizations are relating themselves, or even not every organization, at least 10 to 20% are trying to relate their essence of work and how the social impacts are being created vis-a-vis to the SDG. Nowadays, when you are getting your organization established in this, okay, you are not an individual citizen, but you are an organizational citizen of this country, and even you are a global citizen. So when you talk about nowadays, as private organizations, they do have their essence of corporate governance, and which can be little bit related in the public sector also, because you can see that difference. Because here we publicly own, sometimes they are privately owned. So at that moment of time, the objectives are very clear. And when we talk about this governance innovations, is there, but it is organization, private sector, so that they are more focused to the corporate governance, right? But that can be one of the sense when we talk about the public sector. Public sector, the people who are there, we are not saying that they are incapable, but somewhere we need to create the awareness that we, when we think about governance, there is also a social impact that we have. Society. We can take certain examples, not only from this private sector, but from the global side also. There are essence of how the organizations are moving towards ESG. For example, to name a few, I work in with some of the banks in financial sector, NMB Bank, working very nicely in the ESG sector, and they are also supported by FMO. And I already worked, or I'm working with a team of Novel Bank, where we talk about sustainability and how the financial sustainability should be there. It is not only the NRB should guide them, but I say whether it is coming inside from you, because rules and regulation always push the people to go forward, but it is not push, but you need to create the mindset in the pooling section. So that is one of the essence which we can also learn from. I'm not saying that the public sector is not doing good, but that is also one of the improvement that we. How many of the people who are in the public sector thinks that they are leader? They only think that they are there for making somebody compliance and they control. But these two words will never lead you to the basic essence of management inside the public sector. You should be a servant. And go and ask them how many of they think that they are servant. And there is a concept of servant leadership, right? Leadership and servantism huncha. So whether we are in that. So not only the harder part, we need to think about the softer part when we talk about the management, and particularly in the governmental sector or the public sector.
Thank you, Dr. Gangaram. Now, I would like to have a common question to all the panelists. What kind of institutional or policy innovations are most urgent to ensure a sustainable future in Nepal at this moment? First of all, I would like to go with Dr. Acharya.
No, my response to this question would be that I think the certain challenges you say are very pertinent issues with regard to these issues are as follows. For example, in the days to come, or even in the present time, we have one challenge of the use of the technology. AI is there, and how to handle all these things, making, redefining, rebuilding governance, and etc., etc. And secondly, the societal expectation is very high and very diverse. Our society, I say, is very much plural and diverse society, and you need to address all these aspect of the community, aspect of the society, while you're talking about the governance and rule of law, etc., etc. And talking about the societal expectation, I think that the public, private, civil society has to be built here. And for this, you need to have a bottom to the top approach, Whatever Dr. Ganga rightly pointed out, because he has been working for the last long times in this area, in order to address all those things, and you need to develop this public, private, civil society concept, And third one is we have very global challenge also. Talk about climate change issues and etc. And recently we held Sagarmatha Sambad. A number of issues were there about the climate change and about environmental and etc. And the fourth one, I think, which is very much important, particularly to the context of Nepal, is the geopolitics. How each and every concept, every policy, everything are largely impacted by this geopolitics situation. So I think these are the few agendas, to be addressed while to talk to reform about institution, law, and etc., connecting with this concept. Yeah.
Thank you, Dr. Acharya. Now I would like to go with Dr. Regina Maske.
Thank you. As a teasing question from the discussion from the last almost 1.5 hours, from the presentation as well. We see that the first thing is Dr. Acharya just says that from the bottom up to right up, but what we say is that we still lack the full literacy in this subject. Even though we are here in the Kathmandu and we are talking about this, but still if you see with all these corporator, financier, or even in the other sector, the literacy is still very about the environment, social and governance, literacy is very less. And first of all, we have to bring about literate, the people, why it is important. Until and unless you say like that, as the Dr. Ganga they already said, the most of the people only go with whatever they have. They don't have nothing to do with the leaders, nothing to do with the law, and that is why, because it needs to be literate first. If you have to that, and then that we still lack, I think, and that is the one thing. And other is where after literacy, then we have to bring about the education, they educate the people about the environment to each and every corners. Then only then they perceive. Even if, like I really disagree with the people always say that we are in the position because of the big countries. You see by yourself first. We are not the big countries, okay, the emissions are more from them. We have the very limited. But are we going in the good direction? That is what we should know first. We are not going. You see that how the Kathmandu or the urban center are now penetrating. We are destroying all our environment actually. If you see our data, you see that our biodiversity is decreasing. Biodiversity threatened, endangered species is increasing. And in the same way in all the sector, if you see the pollution, the groundwater recharge, the groundwater recharge is depleting, and that makes we drawing quite a lot, double drawing down the recharge percentage, and that makes within 100, the scientists would say that our country will be in the very difficult position. In the same way, the air pollution. If you see the air pollution, we all know that each day the 100 persons are dying in our country due to air pollution. And that is not only from the other big countries, I would say. Because air pollution is my sector, I would say to you that we are emitting in the Kathmandu Valley 63% from ourselves and only 14% from the other countries for the Kathmandu. But if we see about the Tarai, because our country in the different, the mountains, hills, and the plain region, that is different in different segments. So, so that the ethics, what we call is the ethical value and the ethical context, to know this environment, social and governance. First, redefine these things. To them, that needs the literacy, I would say, at this kind. And then once literacy there, it will all come. Social context, natural context, and how you coordinate here, it will be understanding. And
thank you. Thank you, Dr. Maske. Now, I would like to have some add-ons from Dr. Gangara.
Can you just repeat your question?
What kind of institutional or policy innovations are most urgent to ensure a sustainable future in Nepal at this moment?
There are a lot of things, but I would only consider in terms of the resources and how the resources can be managed and utilized for the country. Other thing, nowadays we are talking about not only economy, but we are talking about circular economy. The other instance is, as sir already talked about, that if we are talking about governance, is it we are going to connect with IT? So it gives birth to e-governance. And when we talk about the E kind of thing, it is a new world that we are also not that much of aware in a higher sense. We can learn from the global instances how the countries are moving towards this. We are not far away from Bhutan, and we already know what is the context of Bhutan and how they are taking their country. I know the political scenario, and the other essentials are different in the sense of Nepal and Bhutan. We can compare, even though we can learn something out of them too. We are talking about well-being, and there is different way how you can explain and define well-being. When we talk about few countries, let's talk about Netherlands. They talk about circular economy, and they talk about circular Dutch economy by 2050. But they say that they will decrease resource utilization by 50% by 2030, right? But is it only the matrix as given, or they are doing something? They are doing something. Data-driven decision making. जसरी अहिले हामी युनिभर्सिटी र एकाडेमिक्स र एक्सपर्ट एउटा सिलोजमा छौँ, आफ्नो आफ्नो कम्पार्टमेन्टमा काम गरिरहेको छौँ, इन्टिग्रेसन छैन। त्यो कुरा चाहिँ डेफिनेटली माथिबाट लिएर तलसम्म हाम्रो नेपालको कन्ट्रीको सिस्टममा पनि इन्टिग्रेट हुनुपर्छ, एन्ड वी सुड कम विथ द्याट मेकानिजम अफ कोअर्डिनेसन. What that they done or they did, what governance, हामी यहाँ इनोभेसन पनि जोडिरहेको छौँ. सो आई वुड लाइक टु टक अबाउट इनोभेसन. हामीले कहिले कहिले अरूलाई हेरेर पनि आफ्नो इनोभेसन्सहरू इन्टिग्रेट गर्न सकिन्छ. एन्ड वाट इज द लेसन फर नेपाल पर्टिकुलरली. अर्को त्यहाँबाट हामी जाउँ न्युजिल्यान्ड. न्युजिल्यान्डमा वेन दे आर मेकिङ देयर बजेट, दे आर नट ओन्ली कनेक्टिङ विथ द इकोनोमिक इन्डिकेटर अर जिडिपी. दे आर नाउ इट इज टकिङ अबाउट data driven innovation. A government is focused on holistic societal changes. Societal impact ma government पनि काम गरिरहेछ. र well-being budget भन्छन् उनीहरूले country को लागि. Well-being budget that is connected with social, environment indicators, along with the economic indicators, अनि के अरे fiscal ones. So can we learn something? Is it only our people is going there and sending money? Yes, they are also sending certain knowledge to us too. So we need to embrace that thing. Why we are talking about the developed country? I'm not saying that I'm not developed. In my sense, I'm developed. Because when I see my grandfather, when I see my father, I'm much, much above that. And we should be very thankful to our forefathers that how they have taken this country and we are here. Yes, the redefining is there every time, right? We can learn it from Africa. Africa is not Africa nowadays. I'm very closely connecting with the studies with Africa. See the leadership, how they are coming forward. See how the resources are being utilized. Resources the सबैभन्दा त्यहाँ धेरै छ, right? I would like to name some of the political figures out there. I love the essence by which the Burkina Faso president is working, right? Very young heart, and see how उसको last statement मैले कतै देखाएको थिएँ social media. He is talking about, I will send the resources out of this country when it is a finished product. I will never let other countries to take my resources just as a raw. And that is the problem where, or the issue that we can learn from there also. That is also a governance part, right? That comes from the political system. त्यस्तै नै रोवान्डाको कुरा एउटा छ, त्यहाँ ई गभर्नेन्स भन्ने छ. त्यो एउटा केस स्टडी पनि छ. जब हामीले गभर्नेन्सहरू पढाउँछौँ त्यतिखेर त्यो इक्जाम्पल लिइराखेका हुन्छौँ. They talk about public sector inclusive governance and e-governance. त्यो पनि हामीले अलिकति, किनभने when we are trying to redefine something, we need to go and see what the best things are happening in this world. So I also like to emphasize on that. So from the private sector also you talk about like this. So somewhere it starts from the governmental political figures and their essential motivation that how they are going to take all these things. You can learn from many countries, and I'm not saying that we are not doing. We are doing, but still we need. See, our country is based on a lot of resources, and particularly the water, right? Many a time we say this is green energy, but when I visited Europe, okay, there was a debate that whether this is a green energy or not, because ma'am ko agadi मैले त्यो environmental कुरा गर्दा बढी हुन्छ. तर you see when the reservoir is there, how much carbon it is emitting. I was astonished to see the research papers that come within that. So how much green is this, right? One question. Other thing is water governance, in which we are, none of us are talking and none of we are working. Because when you see world global water governance, water is a fundamental right, human rights for everybody. So Nepal ko water ma koi aru country ko pani हस्तक्षेप हुन सक्छ. So where is that we are thinking about? So many of the issues are there, but त्यो इस्युजलाई हामीले एउटा प्रब्लम लिएर होइन, एउटा च्यालेन्ज र त्यो इस्युजलाई कसरी मिटअप गर्ने भन्ने एउटा चाहिँ अब म एकाडेमिक्समै भएर म चाहिँ रिसर्चलाई अलिकति एम्फेसाइज नै गरेँ, जुन चाहिँ हाम्रो पब्लिक सिस्टममा अथवा गभर्मेन्ट सिस्टममा पनि कमी कमजोरी छ र त्यसलाई चाहिँ हामीले रिसर्च बेस भएर अथवा इभन यु सी फन्डिङ पनि छैन भन्ने छैन। तपाईँले भर्खरै म एउटा प्रोभिन्सकै उसमा थिएँ र त्यो चाहिँ रिसर्चको फन्ड त्यहाँ चाहिँ थपिएर 12 करोड भइसकेको रहेछ। अब आउने दिनमा यो 12 करोड कसरी खर्च गर्ने भन्ने केही पनि छैन। पैसा नभएको होइन, हामीले सायद काम गर्न नजानेको कि भनेर आफूलाई प्रश्न गरौँ कि र अरूतिर यसरी औँला उठाउँदै मतिरै औँला गरौँ कि भन्ने जस्तो फिल चाहिँ हुन्छ। र सायद रिसोर्सेसको कमीले मात्रै होइन होला, तर रिसोर्सेसलाई कसरी म्यानेज गर्ने भन्ने कुराले चाहिँ हामी अल्मलिएको हो कि भन्ने मैले म्यानेजमेन्ट पर्सपेक्टिभ चाहिँ यहाँ राख्न पाएँ।
Thank you, Dr. Gangaram. And because of our time constraint, we are not entertaining a question answer session with our esteemed panelists. And thank you very much. As we will be here to have our pleasure with Dr. Gangaram and Dr. Regina Maske in our technical sessions as well. So thank you to our esteemed panelists for their deeply insightful contributions. Today's dialogue has made it abundantly clear that redefining governance for sustainability requires more than incremental change. It demands bold interdisciplinary collaborations. So saying that, I would like to end the panel discussion here and would like to request our respected principal, Mr. Prakash Kumar Shrestha, to be present here to hand over the token of love to our esteemed panelists. First of all, I would like to invite Professor Dr. Regina Maske. And now similarly, Dr. Bhimarjan Acharya. And Dr. Gangaram Biswakarma as well. Thank you all the panelists. Thank you for your insightful discussions. We would like to have collaboration in the future. Thank you. And now we will have our lunch break. And as soon as we complete our lunch, at 12 noon, we will begin our plenary sessions. And there will be the parallel sessions. One here, the session number 6 will be here in conference hall, and session number 7 will be in seminar hall. Thank you. Thank you very much.